Standing at your kitchen counter, carefully rinsing out the yogurt container before placing it in your recycle bin. You feel good about it. You are doing your part for the planet, right? But what if I told you that the container has only a 9% chance of actually being recycled globally? What if I told you that the 91% of the world's plastic waste never gets recycled at all? We've been told recycling is the answer, right? But did you know staggering 91% of the plastic isn't actually recycled? For years we believed this convenient half-truth. Join me as we expose these dirty little secrets of traditional recycling and uncover the groundbreaking principles of a truly circular economy, where waste is a concept of the past, not just a smaller landfill. Welcome back to the Sustainability Side, the podcast where we dig deep, go beyond the buzzwords, and uncover what's really driving our planet forward towards a sustainable future. I'm your host, Dr. Sama, and today we are diving into something we all think we understand. I'm talking about recycling. Yes, that's the concept we are going to discuss today. Now, before you think this is another depressing environmental wake-up call, let me tell you why I'm actually excited about what we are going to explore this month. It's about the circular economy. With that note, let's have a small intro.
Let's unite on the sustainability side. Feel the love day and night. Let's turn the tides, make a change today. Together we define our sustainable way. With every step we take, we rise and glow on the sustainability side. Let the give us.
Hope you enjoyed our intro. Now let's jump into today's episode, which is Beyond Recycling, the True Circular Economy Solutions. Is it confusing? It's all about pulling back the curtain on this illusion, okay? Because the truth is recycling, as we know, it was never designed to solve the root problem of waste or the wastage. It was designed to make us feel better about it. Too much of truth, right? Yes, our recycling system is functionally broken, but that broken down is creating space for something far more powerful, a complete reimagining of how we create, use, and value everything in our world. You see, recycling gives us this sense of closure, right? We finish our soda, toss the bottle in the bin, and poof, it's out of the sight, out of our mind. We imagine it's reborn into another shiny product, living its best second life. Don't we all think that? Okay, at least I do think. Okay, but the data tells a different story. Globally, only about 9% of all the plastic ever produced has been recycled. Just 9%. That means over 91% of it ends up in the landfills, oceans, or burned for energy. Incineration, basically. Releasing more carbon into the air. And here's the kicker. Even that 9% doesn't stay in the loop forever. Most plastics can only be recycled once or twice before it loses quality. After that, it's a trash again. Right? So confusing. I know. So when we hear the word recycled, it is often more of a delay than a solution. We are just postponing waste, not preventing it. You understand what I'm trying to say here, right? You know, I remember growing up and being taught that recycling was the answer, like we all have been. The 3 R's we practically feel sacred about, right? Which is reduce, reuse, and recycle. And for the years, the last R, recycle, has become the one we learned and we leaned on the most. But somewhere along the line, we stop asking what happens next. Where does the plastic actually go? Who handles it? How much of it really comes back? Right? I still remember visiting a recycling facility for the first time, watching heaps of bottles, cans, and mixed waste being sorted, or rather trying to be sorted. The sheer volume was overwhelming, and the workers told me something that stuck with me till today. They said, we can't recycle confusion. Meaning, if what we throw in the bin isn't clean, separated, and currently labeled, it just often ends up in the trash anyway. This hit me hard. It really did hit me hard. All those good intentions mixed in with the food waste and wishful thinking were literally clogging the system. The circular economy isn't just about recycling better, it's about eliminating waste entirely. And the companies pioneering this approach aren't just saving the planet, they are making serious money doing it. Can you imagine that? By 2030, the circular economy could unlock 4.5 trillion, in economic benefits globally. That's not environmental charity, that's the biggest business opportunity of our lifetime. So whether you are a business leader, a sustainability professional, or just someone who wants to understand where our economy is heading, or a curious person and a researcher just like me, this episode will change how you think about the waste. It helps you understand the value and what true sustainability actually looks like. So we will focus on the system problems as the next session. So here's another layer of the illusion. Most recycling systems around the world were built decades ago for materials like glasses, papers, and metals. But now we live in a plastic age. Hundreds of different plastic types, PET, HDPE, LDPE, PVC, polystyrene, you name it. Each with their own melting points and chemical quirks. Many can't even be recycled together. Do you know that? And to make things worse, producers, the companies making these materials often design products that look recyclable but aren't. Multi-layer packaging, colored plastics, and mixed materials are most impossible to recycle efficiently. Yet, we are told to keep tossing them in a bin to do our part. You know what I mean? It's almost as if the responsibility has been quietly shifted from corporations to the consumers. Us. So let's talk about the recycling narrative, okay? You might be surprised to know that the modern recycling push wasn't just born out of environmental concerns. It was also a marketing strategy. Too much of truth bombs, right? Wait, there are more. Back in 70s and 80s, when public concerning over pollution started growing, a big oil and plastic companies realized they needed to protect their image. So they funded massive recycling awareness campaigns, catchy slogans, green arrows, smiling bins. It created the perfect narrative. Don't blame the product. You just need to recycle better. Can you imagine that? And we bought into it because it was simple, empowering, and convenient. Most important, the marketing worked. But here's the truth. But here's the truth. We can't recycle our way out of overproduction. Even if we recycled every single plastic item we used, new plastic production is still outpacing recycling by miles. In fact, by 2050, it's projected that the plastic production could triple. We will be focusing something very interesting, but the hard truth. It's called the recycling illusion. Or you could say the hard truth or uncomfortable facts. Let me start with the most jarring statistics of all. Only 22.3% of global e-waste was properly collected and recycled in 2022. That's electronic waste. Phones, computers, all the devices that contains precious metals and toxic materials. The other 78% just disappeared into the environment, representing $62 billion worth of recoverable natural resources that were literally thrown away. But it gets worse. E-waste generation is rising 5 tons faster than documented recycling efforts. We produced 62 million tons of e-waste in 2022, and that's projected to hit 82 million tons by 2023. To put that in a perspective, that's enough to fill 1.55 or 1.55 million 40-ton trucks in a line stretching around the equator. Now let's talk about the recycling we all think we understood, which is household recycling. In the United States itself, which produces more plastic waste per capita than any other nations, only like 5% of plastic actually gets recycled. Let me repeat that, 5%. The US burned 6 times more plastic than it recycled in 2016, and that ratio has only gotten worse. Even in Europe, okay, it's very shocking, but yeah, which leads the world in the recycling efforts, only 41% of the plastic packaging waste was recycled in 2022. That means 59% still end up in the landfills, incinerators, or worse, leaked into the environment. So here we are facing the contamination crisis. When good intentions go wrong, here's where the story really gets frustrating. It's not just that we are not recycling enough, we are contaminating the recycling we do to attempt actually. In England, household waste rejected for recycling increased by 84% between 2011 and 2015. In 2019 to 2020 alone, over 525,000 tons of household recycling was rejected at sorting facilities. Think about what that means. Families across England carefully separate their waste. Local councils spend money collecting it, and then over 500,000 tons end up in the landfills away because it couldn't actually be recycled. Each ton of the rejected recyclable waste cost around £93 to dispose of, meaning taxpayers paid over £48 million just for the privileges of having their recycling rejected. At materials recovery facilities, the high-tech sorting centers designed specially to handle the recyclables, rejected rates can reach up to 10.6%. In England and Wales alone, that equals nearly 361 tons of waste that arrives at recycling facilities but can't be processed. And here's the kicker. 82% of citizens are putting non-recyclable items in recyclable bins. That greasy pizza box, that plastic bag, that yogurt container with food residues still inside, each one can contaminate an entire batch of otherwise recyclable materials. How many of you have done the same mistake? It's okay. We're learning here. So from next time, be very mindful. Let's dive deeper into the topic, the linear economics hidden cost. So, which probably we talk about the contamination. Okay, so the contamination is just a symptom of much deeper problem. Even when recycling works perfectly, it's still operating within what economists called a take, make, dispose model. I would call the same because I'm an economist as well. Okay, and that model is hemorrhaging money. The European Union loses an estimated 600 pound billion actually due to the resource inefficiencies. That is not money invested poorly, that's money completely lost because we extract resources, use them once and throw them away. Consider the consumer good industry, which is like $3.2 trillion worth of materials are used annually, but only 20% are recovered, and we literally throwing away $2.56 trillion worth of materials every year in just one sector. I know you might be shocked. Let me bombard you with more facts and stats. The fashion industry provides another stark example. My favorite, Ellen MacArthur, he kind of reinvented circular economy. So the Ellen MacArthur Foundation calculates that $500 billion in value is lost annually from clothing that's barely worn and rarely recycled. $500 billion of materials gone. So let me help you with a case study in a system failure, which talks about the plastic crisis. Let's focus on plastic because it's perfectly illustrates why recycling can't solve our problems. Global plastic production hits 415 million metric tons in 2023, doubling since the beginning of the century. By 2040, packaging alone will account for 40% of global plastic waste. We are talking about material designs for minutes of use, but they persist in the environment for the centuries. 50% of the global plastic output is single use, with an average working life of 12 minutes for a plastic bags, which then take 20 years to break down. Here's the trajectory we are on. Global plastic use is expected to increase from 464 million tons in 2020 to 884 million tons by 2050. Meanwhile, 20 million tons of plastic waste leaked into the environment in 2020 alone. Even if we achieved perfect collection and recycling, which we are nowhere close to, recycling would only handle 14% of plastic waste by 2040 under the most optimistic scenarios. The rest would still go to the landfills, incinerators, and leak into the environment, also, become a marine waste. It's very shocking, the reality is, but beyond contamination, let's see what is the economic reality. The financial implications of our linear system go far beyond waste disposal cost. Over 50% of global CO2 emission comes from resource extraction and processing, not just energy use. We've been so focused on disposal and that we have ignored the massive environmental and economical impact of the extraction phase. Manufacturing companies are discovering this the hard way. A study of 200 European manufacturing firms found that companies with a higher circular economy practices saw 0.152 percentage point increase in return on investment, which is ROI, for every point increase in the circular economy index. The companies ignoring circularity aren't just the missing environmental targets, they are missing profit opportunities. The World Economic Forum puts the global opportunity at $4.5 trillion in economic benefits by 2030 for companies that embrace circular principles. If you are one among them, it's good for you. It's time for us to keep up. That's not the future money. That's the money being left on the table right now. That leads us to the next question. So, what now? What's next? Now, don't get me wrong, recycling does have its place. It's better than nothing, and in many cases, it's still essential for certain materials like metals, glass, and paper. But if we want to talk about real sustainability through circular economy, through circularity, or we need to start thinking differently. We need to move beyond recycling and towards the redesigning. Redesigning products, redesigning systems, and redesigning mindsets so waste doesn't exist in the first place. With the serious facts, statements, and thought-provoking questions, we'll meet you soon with the next part, where we are going to unpack the facts beyond the bin, explaining the core principles of the circularity, which means we will help you to understand what a circular economy really looks like and why it's the key to the breaking free from the linear economy or linear, which is the economists say, take, make, waste model. Remember, together we not only talk about what the sustainability is and what the things that we can make better, but we take an action, we make an impact so we could create a bigger difference. And if you are a human who thinks similar, here you are in the right place. Support us on the sustainability side in our social media and podcast streaming channels. Most importantly, come together, become a member or a part of a community. That being said, step up and join the community, making a bigger impact by joining our membership programs. Especially, you'll get to have exclusive bonus episodes, contents, and toolkits with strategies. Hence, join our Ko-fi and Patreon for the memberships. Sustainability is not mine, it's ours. I'll be back soon with much more. Until then, take care, stay tuned, curious and inspired only on the sustainability side.
Feel the love day and night. Let's turn the tides, make a change today. Together we define our sustainable way. With every step we take, we rise and grow and